Hi everyone, and welcome to this short training video on classification. In this video, we'll look at how to complete a classification, why it matters, how to do it in Salesforce, and go into a bit more detail about what each question is asking you. The SWUK UK Material Classification Protocol went live on the 1st of October 2025 for Thames Water and all utilities across the UK. It's now a legal requirement for every excavation, on both the highway and private land. The protocol standardizes how we identify, segregate, and classify the materials that come out of our works. It helps us stay compliant, protects the environment, and prevents costly mistakes across Thames Water and our partners. By the end of this video, you should feel confident in completing the classification form correctly every time. Now let's take a look at how the classification form works and what each stage is asking you to do.
First, we're going to look in detail at what each question on the classification form is specifically asking you. Understanding this is essential because your answers decide how each layer of material is handled and whether it's classed as hazardous or non-hazardous. Once we've covered the questions, we'll move on to how this looks in Salesforce and what you should look out for when completing and submitting your form. The classification form is split into 3 sections. The first section is Asbestos Question 1. If you excavate and expose an asbestos-encased asset, you must tick Yes to this question. You must also tick Yes if you find any broken fragments, visible fibers, or material that looks like asbestos within the excavation. It's not just about exposing an asset. For example, you might dig on a plastic main but still uncover asbestos fragments or debris in the ground. This must still be flagged at this stage. Even if the asset isn't broken or the asbestos appears contained, this still triggers the asbestos process and means the protocol no longer applies. Once you tick Yes, the form will automatically close and you must contact your supervisor to follow the full asbestos procedure. This process will be reviewed over time, but for now, teams must always follow the asbestos steps in full. The second section covers the bituminous layer, questions 2 and 3. These questions focus on the surface layer, the tarmac. Question 2 asks you to visually check for coal tar. Teams should look for all 3 of the following before ticking Yes: a shiny binder, a sticky texture, and a strong creosote smell. If all 3 are present, tick Yes. If not, tick No. Question 3 relates to the use of pack spray. This tool helps confirm what you've already observed. Spray across the full depth of the tarmac. If the color changes to band 1 or band 2, tick Yes. If it doesn't change or the color stays in bands 3 to 6, tick No. It's important to remember that ticking Yes does not mean I've used pack spray. It means the spray result shows the presence of coal tar. If there is no tarmac on site, such as slabs, concrete, or verge, tick NA for questions 2 and 3. The final section covers the subbase, questions 4 to 7. These questions help identify contamination in the lower layers. Teams should rely mostly on what they can see and smell, with the litmus test only used to confirm what they already believe. Question 4 looks for unusual soil color. If the soil is black, orange, green, or blue, that could indicate contamination. Normal subbase should be grey or brown. If you're unsure, take a photo and check with your supervisor. Question 5 checks for a rainbow sheen. If there's water in the excavation, look for a rainbow or oily film on the surface. This can indicate contamination, but don't confuse it with harmless air bubbles or clean water movement. It's worth checking that no oil or petrol has leaked from your saw cutter, as that can also create a rainbow effect. There's been some confusion around the colour of water, so to be clear, this question is asking whether you can see a rainbow sheen or rainbow colouring in the water. If there's no rainbow sheen, select No. If the water is brown because you're working in a muddy pit, that doesn't count as coloration. We're specifically looking for a rainbow sheen, like you would see if petrol or oil were present in the water. Question 6 is about smell. Take a moment to smell the excavation.
If you notice a strong or unusual smell, like tar, gas, garlic, or bleach, tick yes. Question 7 is the litmus pH test. Use this only to confirm your visual and smell-based decision, not to make it. Be mindful that any yes answer to questions 2 through 7 will automatically mark that layer as hazardous. That's correct if it's genuinely contaminated, but accidental yes selections create serious knock-on effects for waste classification, disposal, and reinstatement. Always double-check your answers before submitting. Now that we've gone through what each question is asking, let's look at how to complete the classification correctly in Salesforce and what to watch out for when submitting your form. When you've finished the job, all excavation is complete, and your site is clearly segregated, you're ready to classify it. To do this in Salesforce, you'll need to complete 3 mandatory forms. First, the network completion form, next the additional plant form, and finally the risk assessment materials dig team form, also called the classification form. These forms must be completed in that order. Salesforce will prompt you to complete the forms in the correct order, and if you try to do them out of sequence, it will guide you back to the right one. Select your classification form. The first screen shows your permit details. This information will already be filled in, so you don't need to do anything here. Press Next. The second screen shows the highway authority. Again, nothing to fill in here. Press Next to continue. The third screen is where the classification starts. At the top, you'll see your location details. Scroll to the bottom to find your first question. Question 1 asks if there are any signs of asbestos fibers or asbestos-containing materials in the excavation. Only answer yes if you can clearly see asbestos-broken fragments, visible fibers, or an asbestos-encased asset. If you spot any asbestos, stop work straight away and call your supervisor. If there are no signs, select No and press Next. If you answered yes in error, contact the back office so they can reopen the form and correct the answer. You will need to provide the correct information from site so the classification can be updated accurately. The next screen is the bituminous section. Here you're classifying the bituminous layer if one is present. Question 2 asks whether the binder is shiny, sticky to touch, and has an organic smell. If all 3 are present, select Yes. If only 1 or 2 are, select No. Question 3 is about pack spray. Spray pack across the full depth of the tarmac and compare the result with your pack chart. Take one photo straight after spraying. Wait 5 minutes, then take another photo to see if the color has changed. Pack spray only works in dry conditions. If the surface is wet, it will not give an accurate result. In that case, skip the test. Add a note in Salesforce explaining why, and select NA for this question. If the pack color changes to band 1 or band 2, answer yes. If it stays in bands 3 to 6, answer no. Remember, answering yes to any question on this screen will classify the bituminous layer as hazardous. Only use NA for all questions if there is no bituminous layer on site, such as slabs, concrete, or verge. Once you're happy with your answers, press Next. Take a second to double-check before moving on. When you press Next, the bituminous layer will be classified and shared with the reinstatement team, so it is important that we are confident and correct in our classifications. The final page is the sub-base section. This part has 4 questions, numbered 4 to 7. Question 4 asks if the soil is stained an unusual color such as orange, black, blue, or green. If it is, select yes. If not, select no. Question 5 asks if there is water or moisture in the excavation, and if there is a rainbow sheen or coloration to the water. Here we are looking for a rainbow or oily shine, not brown or muddy water. If there is a rainbow sheen, select yes. If there is not, select No. Also, check that no oil or petrol has leaked from your saw cutter, as that can cause a false reading. Question 6 is about smell. Take a moment to notice any strong or unusual odours. If you can smell bleach, garlic, gas, tar, eggs, or anything strong or strange, select Yes. If not, select No. Question 7 is the litmus test. Take your plastic pot, add soil from the subbase, mix it with water, and dip in the litmus paper. Compare the result with the chart provided to you, not the one in the booklet. If the result is neutral and shows green, select No. If it is in the acidic or alkaline areas highlighted in red, select Yes. Answering yes to any of these questions will classify that layer as hazardous. Only use NA if the layer is not present, such as when vacuum excavation was used, or if you were unable to complete the litmus test but have answered all other questions in this section. Before pressing Next, check your answers carefully. Answering yes to any question will classify the layer as hazardous. Answering no to all will classify it as non-hazardous. Answering NA to all means the layer has not been classified. If you press Next and later realize you made a mistake, contact the back office straight away. They can reopen the form and correct the answer. You will need to provide the correct information from site to make sure the classification is updated accurately. Incorrect classifications can affect reinstatement teams by passing on the wrong information. They can also cause environmental risks, customer complaints, and potential fines for Thames Water. Take your time and make sure your answers are right before submitting the form. Once submitted, this information is used across multiple teams, so it is vital that it is correct. Let's recap. Before you classify a site, make sure all excavation work is complete and your site is fully segregated. In Salesforce, you'll complete 3 forms in order: network completion, additional plant, then the risk assessment materials dig team form, also called the classification form. Always follow the on-screen prompts in Salesforce so the forms are completed in the correct order. Your classification has 3 stages: asbestos, bituminous, and subbase. Only answer yes to asbestos if you see clear evidence such as fibres or fragments. If asbestos is found, stop work straight away and contact your supervisor. For the bituminous layer, look for a shiny, sticky binder with a strong smell. Use pack spray only in dry conditions and follow your chart carefully. Remember, a yes on any question will classify that layer as hazardous. For the subbase, check for unusual soil colours, rainbow sheens on water, strong or unusual smells, or a high or low pH result using the litmus test. A yes to any of these also marks the layer as hazardous. Use NA only when a layer is not present or a test cannot be completed. Always double-check your answers before pressing Next. If you make a mistake, contact the back office. They can reopen the form and correct the answers, but you must provide the correct details from site. Accurate classification keeps our data reliable, protects the environment, and supports our reinstatement partners. Every correct classification helps Thames Water stay compliant and deliver safe, responsible works. Dig, segregate, classify. Every job, every time. Thank you.